Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Who Are You podcast. I'm your host, Connor Overbay. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. Always happy to have a new listener. If this is your first time and you guys haven't given us a follow yet, follow us on all of our social medias. It's going to be at Who Are You Pod for everything from Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube even now, all the other places. And as well as if you guys know anybody who has a story needs to be told, a business owner, entrepreneur, or anybody of the sort, feel free to reach out. You guys can email me. It's going to be whoareyoupod@yahoo.com, and maybe we'll have you guys on a future episode. But today, I'm sitting down with a very, very special guest today. This gentleman actually talked to his co-host a couple weeks ago, so I got Joseph Jefferson today.
Yes, sir.
I would say, I mean, you got a whole list full of things I can really tell that you do. You're the owner of Safehouse, which is a mix of things. We'll definitely get into that.
Indeed.
You're the other half of the Random Acts podcast as well.
Indeed.
Welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on. It's an honor to be here.
Hey, man, like I said, I was super excited. I came to your last event that you had here, or maybe an event or two ago.
Right.
And it was a art, what would you say? It was really a mix of everything.
Yeah, so it's premised as an art mixer as well as an art critique. So the goal of it is to get people in, networking in the beginning, meeting each other, introducing, even for like yourself, coming out, those who might not do art, those who are new to art. You're seeing a wide range of artists. Mm-hmm. Beginners, very experienced artists, some of the city's most renowned artists,
Exactly.
Came out. So it was a great experience. The later half, we did the critique. So I love how we broke it up into two different parts, gave everybody an opportunity to talk and enjoy each other's company, and then be a little more critical with each other to where, we offered insight, we offered inspiration, motivation, things like that. So, yeah, it was a good time.
Dude, the event was awesome. And before we get too deep into the conversation, please let everybody know where they can follow your stuff at. I want to make sure people can find you guys, come check you guys out over here at the Safehouse and obviously your podcast.
Indeed. So, for the Safehouse, it's the Safehouse Jacks on all social media platforms. And then for the podcast, it's at RAO Podcast. Random Acts of Podcast on everything. So
yes, sir. And I talked to your co-host Amp. Shout out to Amp. He's actually in the background right now doing his thing.
That's my
had an awesome conversation, and he told me a little bit about you as well. So I was like, I had kind of seen you on Instagram through like the Safehouse Instagram, because I'm always kind of looking around to see different business owners or entrepreneurs that are doing things here in Jacksonville. And I saw you guys, and literally everything I saw in there was awesome. Whoever does all your photo work and all that stuff does a great job, and just the events that you guys have thrown.
Definitely
we were
appreciate
talking.
it.
Yeah, we were talking about the art critique. John Hawkins was the one who helped collaborated with you on that, correct?
Indeed. Big shout out to John, man. I can't be more thankful. So he came to me and let me know that he wanted to host a critique. He said he had never hosted anything before, and I thought that was a great opportunity. We've never seen something like this in a community aspect. So I was excited to host it, to have him, come out, bring some people together. We did a lot of marketing. I had, I got to shout out my man, LRK, but I had LRK come out and shoot an introduction for John that we posted onto the page, just to, introduce him beforehand, raise some awareness for his social medias and his art, himself. Amazing guy. And then, giving him the opportunity to host the art critique did wonders for him.
It was amazing to see. And we were talking a little bit before the podcast started. Obviously, I'm not an artist. This is what we're doing right here is my art personally.
I hear that. Yes.
And it was very interesting to walk around and meet different people because, I know John, I know a couple other artists who I've had on the pod and everything, but I've never really been immersed in one of those social situations.
Right.
So I thought it was really interesting to be able to come in here, sit down, shake hands with people. Like I was telling you before, I shook hands with a woman who obviously a big artist here in Jacksonville who I was not aware of. And I just walked up as my goofy self. I'm like, hey, I'm Connor. Nice to meet you. I run a podcast and all this stuff.
Right.
And she walks away. And I see 4 people run up to her, like, oh my God, you're here, and all this stuff. I'm like, who did I just talk to? I hope I made a good impression and everything.
Yeah, shout out to Elena Orlando for coming out. Very thankful to have her out. We had Chris Clark in the building, Jared Walker, Teresa Cook. I mean, some big names were in the building. Even some that came out in support, Tony Samaljic. I don't know Yaya's last name, and I don't want to mess it up, but Yaya was just recently appointed to the mayor's office, So, I mean, it was a huge opportunity for everybody to get a wide range of critique and feedback, and they definitely did an amazing job of doing just that. You know, everybody gave some valuable input. So
no, it was awesome, man. Like I said, I kind of just sat in the back thing over here in the corner, and I was just like watching. It was really interesting to see people, how they talked about whether it was a painting or the clothing that some people were making, or, you know, even just video art. We had a young man who was like showing his music videos and everything. And one of the main impactful parts that I saw from there was you gave him a solid critique. And it wasn't just you, it was everybody. Everybody kind of came in because, and I'm not hating on this guy, he was a little bit acting like he didn't care about the art a little bit of it or what he was putting out. And in my opinion, the video looked great. Obviously, there's always parts where you can work and everything, but I respected the fact that you stood up and a couple other people stood up and said, hey, you know, if you don't have this, there are people around you that can help, and I'm willing to work with you. Here's a camera, you know, just bring it back to me whenever you're done using it. Or if you need help editing, there's plenty of people in here who would love to help you. And I was like, that's the thing that people need, because you can be lackluster about it and then you never get anywhere. If you're really serious about your art, you're gonna try to push yourself each week or each time you put a new project out and try to grow that. You have to,
and that's one thing that I'm very keen on. So I got to go into a promotional run here.
Go right ahead.
So when I started my artistic journey, before all of this, I did music, and I always had this ignorant belief that, man, if I don't do music, I'm meant for nothing else. God could take me off the earth, you know? What else do I have to offer the world, right? So I stopped doing music, and I felt lost for a minute, but I found everything again in art. I told Amp's my best friend, known him since 9th grade, you know what I mean? Amazing guy. I always lean on him for everything, anytime I got an idea. So I called him one day and I was like, look, I want to start a home decor company. I had just moved back to Jacksonville. This was maybe like 6 or 7 months in, and he was like, okay, what makes you want to start a home decor company? And I was like, well, look, there are a lot of ideas that I have that I think will look good in the home. But if you study the market, this is going to be one of the biggest things over the course of the next 5 years, right? And I think we're seeing that come to fruition today with how much social media has everyone promoting their lifestyle within their confinement, right? So I was on Twitter one day, saw a rug, you know, and I wanted to buy it. And the pandemic had just started. I was working part-time, and then I did the podcast. So I was doing good for myself, but it wasn't like I could just splurge in the middle of, you know, a crisis, right? So I looked up what it took to get into it. I leaned on Amp. I said, you know, hey, I need a little help. And that was my start to being vulnerable and leaning on the people closest to me to get the things that I needed. A lot of people don't know, but Amp was my early on investor. He took from the podcast. He made sacrifices in our podcast growth to help me grow personally. And that was huge to have that kind of support, you know, means a lot. He's here today, you know, all of what he's done, you know, it speaks for itself. But when we were doing the critique, it made me think about things like that. It made me think about my business partner who helped me to get this opportunity, right? We often don't know unless we ask, and it sounds so cliche to say, but when I opened the space, I wanted everyone to have a resource, and that's how I market the Safehouse. It is a local resource for creatives to come, learn, grow, educate themselves in different mediums, try different things. We're focused on collaboration and innovation. So I think that is huge to have access like that and be able to take advantage.
No, I totally agree, man. Like, I wouldn't be anywhere near what I am now without asking for help. And I was the same way. Like, growing up, I was very the bravado of being a man. Like, I'm going to do this by myself. I don't need any help and everything. And I got nowhere.
Indeed.
You know, I got nowhere. I didn't excuse me, I didn't learn how to do things like learning how to edit the camera, where, you know, Amp sent me, after we sat down and did the podcast, he sent me a bunch of tutorials for Premiere Pro.
Right.
And it was literally a list, and it's helped me really edit my podcast a lot better and try to actually do this YouTube thing the correct way, rather than just, you know, just throw something up and don't try to put any work into it. And, you know, you just have to ask for help sometimes. I know it sucks. definitely sucks sometimes because you feel like it's a blow to your ego, but a lot of times you have to rely on your friends.
Right.
And as a lot of people say, you know, no one does anything alone. And also, like, in my opinion, for me, you know, behind every strong man is a strong woman. You know, my wife is behind the camera work, doing stuff. She's helping me get guests, reaching out to people, and I didn't even have to ask. And that's like me being lucky to have a partner who is involved in this. Like, I told her about doing the podcast, and she's like, if you're down and you want to do it, go right ahead. And 2 years later, 3 years later, it's been going strong. But the Safehouse, man, it's really cool. Like, when I first walked in here, you know, when I was driving up, I'm like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know who's going to be here. You know, because me and you had talked on Instagram or through text message a little bit, and I've been seeing your stuff, but I just never been to an event. Right. And me coming by myself, I was like, all right, man, just go out there. You know, I'm pretty talkative. It's not hard for me to move through the crowd, but being somewhere where it's not my normal space is definitely threw me off. But everybody here was welcoming. Every single person I talked to was cool. You know, I was handing out stickers. People were following on Instagram. We were following back and forth, talking.
I didn't get a sticker. I'm starting to feel offended.
I got plenty of stickers. I got plenty of stickers. But no, man, like, I love the collaboration because for the longest time, at least in my opinion, early on, people weren't really trying to collab. Right. You know, like, everybody thinks that their Instagram is their, you know, is theirs. Yep. And you feel like you can't work with someone to help each other grow. It doesn't have to be just you getting the followers and everything. And that's why, like, I don't charge anybody a dime to be on the podcast. It doesn't matter if you have 10 followers or 100 million followers. If you're an interesting person, I want to talk to you. Those are the only people I talk to.
Indeed. I mean, we got to spend our time in the right ways. I'm big on collaboration because, again, we don't know how far our helping hand could go. We could be one post away from changing someone else's life. And that's the most important thing to me, you know. I want to be a part of the journey, if that makes sense. So, you know, the art critique, real quick, I have to shout out to my team, those that definitely helped me to get by day to day mentally, you know, my support system and everything. Dr. Dom, his wife, Kalia, DJ Larry Love, Ashley in the building. Shout out to Grow the Empire. Savage at Peace. He's been a, man, huge help, huge support, you know, Rock on the side, you know. There's so many people that I could list and name, but again, it's just bringing everybody together is how the success of the Safehouse came together. When I initially got the building, there was no drywall in here. There was tile on the floor. The owners and the contractors they used left all their trash in the building. The backyard had been neglected for years, clearly, you know. And again, most of, you know, what I did myself. I had an amazing group of friends that came in, helped when they could, did everything that they could, and together we completely renovated the space.
It's a beautiful space, man. I saw your videos of you had a machine and you were tearing up the tile. I was like, oh, this man's putting in the work himself.
Yeah, long nights. There were nights I was here till 2, 3 in the morning. You know, me and a good friend Bobby, we would you know, get a couple beers and hang dry. The first like 3 weeks we didn't have power.
Oh my God!
3 to 4 weeks. So we got our through TIs and everything on our lease, we had the first 4 months free. It was a blessing.
That is clutch.
Huge blessing.
That's super clutch.
But it was also the renovations, which was why I took on the responsibility of doing it myself. I said, you know, I told my partner, I said, look, we could save a ton of money if I renovate everything. I just need you to trust my vision and where we're going, and I'll be able to get us there. So initially, he was like, you know, have you done this before? You know, I mean, talk to me.
I mean, those are big questions.
Indeed,
you gotta
know, right? And I was like, yeah, you know, I've done several years, yada, yada. And he was like, okay, let's do it. Let's see what you can do. I had built all my tufting frames. You know, I've been doing a lot of hands-on. I'm just great with my hands. And I had enough to be able to show that you can trust this, right? Yeah. So like I say, for the first month, to save money, I was like, look, don't get electric. Yeah. We'll just run a generator if we have to. Yeah. I'll use daylight, you know? And then schedules like for help when it came to like hanging the drywall, going up on ladder and everything. I'm like, okay, I need help to expedite things. I need this to be nice, you know? So, like I say, I had a friend, he'd come 6 p.m. and we work till like 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's a good friend though, man. Like you're saying, relying on that help. You like, I couldn't imagine trying to put up drywall by myself, man.
Oh my God. So the pillars, I did those, like I had to cut them down, you know, hang them all by myself, everything. I'm up on the ladder. I'm like, I'm about to fall, you know, here in a minute, like the floor is uneven, you know, it had its issues. And, it's been a journey. Like at first I was gritting my teeth through everything. I was, you know, emotional about, you know, the ways that things were coming together at times, you know, and I say that in the sense of I was mad, I was frustrated, I felt jaded, you know what I mean? There were very little like happy moments during those times, right? Because you're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
And then as soon as doors open,
comes to fruition, it's
like all of those nights have been worth it. Even now, you know, every day I'm just very thankful for the opportunity to be better, perfect, you know, how I felt yesterday or what I did, you know what I mean? So I'm loving how the shop came together. Everybody that comes in and helps out, it has been amazing. And we're always working, you know what I mean? I love that atmosphere. The Safehouse essentially runs 24/7.
I mean, I see it, man. Every time you post a flyer, I'm like, damn, they got like 4 events in a row. I'm like, they're just hustling. But I love the fact that Jacksonville was able to come together like this. And because I feel like people have a weird idea of what Jacksonville is. They hear some stuff from like, you know, other cities or other states and everything.
Right.
And then if you really come to Jacksonville and meet the people, man,
it's a completely different dynamic.
It is a hard group of people, but these are all people who worked for their lives, man. It's not cheap to live here.
Right.
Not anymore.
Right. Not at all.
Not at all. And to come together, people willing to spend money with local people here in Jacksonville is big. And that's like the main thing I try to do is like with sitting down with like people like you or, you know, like clothing designers or anything like that. I try to at least, if I can financially, give them a piece.
Right.
You know, buy a piece from them. And then what I'm doing in my studio now is I just got a shelf, and basically what I'm going to do is each time I have something from an artist, a musician or anything, I'm going to have it on the shelf and I'll switch it out each week.
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
Like, you know, whether it's like a hat or like their album or a piece of art or something, I want to decorate the whole studio as just like the podcast from Jacksonville.
That's amazing. That's a great initiative for sure.
But I know you have an acronym. What does Safehouse stand for?
I was actually going to touch on that.
Yeah.
So I love that you brought up, you know, Jacksonville having, you know, a different connotation many years back. For a while, it was very negative. And I think that we're going through a Jacksonville renaissance.
Yes.
And I mentioned it to someone else recently, and they had a little pushback. They were saying that, you know, they've been saying this for years and years. But I think that now we're seeing the biggest opportunities with the Renaissance actually coming to fruition, the Safehouse being a pillar in that regard.
Hell yeah, man.
For myself, I'm 33. And we're seeing, you know, I want to shout out Nexus Hub and Sakani, Sasha. What she's doing is amazing. I mean, there are countless places, and she's right over on Pearl. I look to her a lot as a sister, you know, business in a sense, and she's not. But I say that in the sense, that's how much I want to support. That's how much I'm pushing and rooting for her, because we are young individuals that are making huge impacts in the city to change the dynamic.
And we're next up.
Exactly. And we are changing how the culture will be for the next 20 and 30 years. So SAFE is an acronym for set a fucking example. It's a very bold message for a very bold city. Like you said, we're a hard group of people that work very hard for everything that we do. And in that, I still feel we have a lot of positivity that we can show, a lot of good that we can display, not just through our creative works or what we do day to day, but how we impact people, how we impact cities, and even, God willing, the nation.
That's right. No, I totally agree. That's why I do the pod. For me, I was talking to you about it a little bit earlier, and I love that message behind it, because you have to have something positive nowadays.
Right.
This whole thing where everybody's just trying to put negative, man, all I see on Instagram and TikTok and all this stuff is people complaining. they're not posting the good stuff of like what's big and what's good about their city.
Indeed.
And that's why I promote the people of Jacksonville, because I live this city. I was born and raised here. I've never moved anywhere else. I went from everything from elementary to college here. And when I was younger, man, I was not the biggest fan of Jacksonville. I didn't like what the situations were going on, whether it was like politically or what's going on in my neighborhood, or, you know, friends not being here anymore because of certain situations. And it really like rubbed me the wrong way. But as I got older and started to get more into my community and, you know, mature as a person, you can see the diamonds in the rough. You can see these people who are coming up, who are just trying or just need that opportunity.
Indeed.
And that's my favorite thing to do is like, oh, you're the first person that ever reached out. I'm like, bet, come sit down. We're gonna have a good conversation today.
Yep.
And also you're talking about your mindset. Like, I'm really big about men talking about what's going on in their lives. Like with me, I was like depression, suicidal, all that kind of stuff back when I was younger. And every guy, every person goes through a hard part of their life. You know, there's no straight line when it comes to life. It's up, down, left, right,
Indeed.
whatever you want to call it. And it's better if you talk about it, man. I have friends who we could have had a simple conversation. I feel like they'd still be here to this day, you know, rather than taking their life or doing something stupid and getting locked up. You know, it's just, there's conversation you can't have nowadays. And I feel like the power of word has gotten so much stronger.
100%. And for me, that's the message that, you know, I'm working to push with the Safehouse. I want people to feel safe, comfortable, and trying different things and coming here. We host a Black men's group.
I seen that. That was cool.
It's amazing because, you know, in the Black community for men, it's often, I don't want to say looked down upon, but we don't talk about therapy. We don't talk about mental health much. So to bring a large group of people together that are ranging from college students to very experienced, you know, scholars, you know what I mean? We have a wide group of people, a very decorated group of people in the room every month. And the impact that we have through Discord and the continued efforts outside of the meetings is already showing itself. Like you said, it is very important to talk about things because even for myself, I grew up bottling things.
Same. 100%. I was angry. I was an angry kid.
For a long time. Battled depression, everything, suicide, everything. Tough time. Even to this day, it's hard.
Oh, same here, man. Right there with you.
So talking about things, having someone to vent to, even if you feel a bit uncomfortable at times. What I've learned is, you know, again, I'm 33. I think I didn't realize this until probably 31, 30. And I didn't even start until 32, there's power in vulnerability. Being honest with yourself, being honest with others. Hey, look, I'm not in a good place right now. Just that alone starts to change the dynamic of everyone, you know, the approach, or you might have a friend that you're so used to joking with and you could be ranking on each other or, you know, making outlandish jokes at times. And it's like, hey, I'm not really in that space right now. And they fall back, and it's the balance that you needed, you know? So, like you say, mental health is so important. As we get older, we're starting to learn now the importance of it. We're starting to see it. I hate that there has been so much suicide, so many people doing crazy things, looking to take others' lives because they're not happy with themselves. You know what I mean? There's so many negative impacts to what the mind is today. In a lot of ways, it is social media, it's the news, it's so many things, it's the overconsumption.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that, you know, why I love hosting so many events here, it gives people a break from that monotony. It gives people an opportunity to get around a wide. I've heard countless times people say, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna come out. I'm not really in the mood right now. And then they come out and they're smiling the most, or they're dancing the hardest at Cut a Rug, you know?
Oh yeah, man.
So it's been amazing to see and realizing what it does for people hearing their stories after one of our events. That keeps me going, you know what I mean?
Oh man, like I can only imagine. And like we were talking about you putting in all this work to build up your, you know, your building, you know, I feel like that makes things so much more sweeter for you as a person and make it more worth it. Like everybody's so quick to go, and they think they're going to get to the top right then and there. And then they don't appreciate the little wins,
Indeed.
Getting up the walls, getting it painted, those are all small wins. And then opening, like you said, that first day opening, man, I can't imagine what that feeling was like.
Oh my God.
And the event I was at, man, there's a bunch of people here, bro. And like every time I see videos, it's packed. And I love to see that local Jacksonville's coming and supporting.
I can't be more thankful. Again, I got to thank, I owe my thanks to everyone else. I owe all my thanks to everyone else. I owe it to my friends that helped me to curate it. Even last week, we didn't have a bartender. One of my friends said, don't worry about it. I'll get back there, you know what I mean? And the reviews about him were beyond belief, So it's just been such an overwhelming experience, an overwhelming amount of joy from this experience of just support. Like I say, I owe everybody else thanks.
Hell yeah, man. I love to hear that. And I want to get a little bit into your backstory a little bit. Obviously, you said you're 33 now, right? Mm-hmm. Or were you born in Jacksonville?
Pensacola, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah. So I moved to Jacksonville in 2000. I was 10. My pops, he was in the military. My mom and my pops just got married, and that's we moved when they married to Jacksonville. It was a complete change of everything. You know what I mean? At first, I hated the city. Couldn't, and that's just new place, being young and ignorant.
Yeah, go meet new people, man. It's hard. School is hard, man. Kids are ruthless, bro.
And Jacksonville at that time was I went to Justina Elementary. Just crazy experiences where we moved. We didn't know anything about Jacksonville. So they just did a Google search. Or I think at that time it was AOL,
Oh, yeah. That was back. I was born in 99, my man. Yeah, I know AOL, but I was a little bit before my time. But I know what you're talking about.
Oh, man, you're dating me now.
Hey, no hate.
So, we did a search online. My mom found an apartment that we thought looked nice. They showed us and everything. And when we moved out there, it was the hood. At that time, it was called River City. River Landing. Okay. I think that's what it was. I forget now. And as soon as we stop, it's going to come back to me.
Oh, you're good, man.
But it's 5150 Pier now, right at the base of the Matthews Bridge. When we moved in, there were cracked needles on the concrete, on the sidewalk, in the street. There were bums hanging out on people's patios.
Just chilling. Yep.
Oh my God, it was bad. So I think, the transition was tough. So the first year we had to stay there. Or no, we didn't stay the first full year. I think we moved down the street to a better apartment complex. But, that area of town was rough.
Yeah.
And we ended up moving on base and Mayport, Wolfson, you know what I mean? Got to see the city, from different sides just throughout my life. Met a lot of people. I think I've done a great job of networking and, trying to be support when needed, be help or whatever I could in the moment. Yeah. And a lot of people have returned that love or done that and more, so.
It's crazy making those relationships when you get older, like what I see on Instagram, like Facebook and stuff like that now, it's like, oh, damn, he did that. Yeah. It's crazy to see what people you knew back in the day and what they're doing now.
Indeed.
And it helped, and you never know, when they can reach out and be a help to you. I remember for me growing up, I was born and raised here. My family's all from New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. They moved down here. My mom works for the railroad, and then my dad used to work for Microsoft. And that's not what he did whenever he moved down here originally, but he was working in technology, and then he found a job at Microsoft here, and he actually used to have a promo business.
Okay.
Yeah, so promotional products and everything.
Wow.
And he used to tell me, man, he would skip to his mailbox, and there'd be $10,000 check waiting in there for him and stuff. But it wasn't always like that. It was, I didn't grow up too hard and really too much rough stuff. I was fed, I was clothed, everything I needed was done. I never really wanted for anything. But I remember when I forgot how old I was when I first started playing basketball, and I played for the Police Athletic League here in Jax. And going and meeting some of the guys I was on the team with that came from lower economic status and stuff, and becoming friends and kind of seeing what else part of Jacksonville is that I was blind to as a young man. It helped open my eyes and to appreciate things, because there's people out here who don't have shit, literally nothing. And what I do for a job now, I tell you, I do pest control, and I work over the bridge, other side, any side you really work on. And I've seen things, man, where I walk in, a woman has 5 kids, no dad's home, or, and it's the struggle, man. And a lot of times, just sitting down and having a conversation with people can help brighten their day, or just like working with them, because I know people who are afraid to go over to the other side of the bridge. And, there are some sketchy situations. Not saying there's not, but most of the people I've gone into, whether it's Section 8 or a $1 million mansion, most of the time the people in Section 8 treat me a lot better than the people in the $1 million mansion.
Indeed. And that's what I live by. You never know who's going to brighten your day, or who, you would do that for, you know what I mean? So I always tell people, try and be kind, try and be understanding, because, man, like you said, in Pensacola, my mom raised us 3 boys single, you know what I mean? Single mother. And when she met my pops, they married, he took us in, you know what I mean? And we moved to Jacksonville. It was definitely tough. I mean, my mom always did whatever was necessary, worked 3 jobs to, you know what I mean?
Shout out to moms, man.
Yeah,
Shout
man.
out.
And like my grandparents, we'd stay with them for a week or, 2 weeks while she worked, and even during that time, you talk about people not having it. Someone she was friends with, like growing up and such, and just cared for as far as like, I want to see you win. She had 3 girls. Started smoking crack and couldn't, raise those, So we took them in or my mom took them in and raised them with us for time. Like they'd stay with us for months at a time.
6 kids?
Single, and you know what I mean?
Man.
Like,
damn.
So I got to see early on that people don't have even some of the things that we take for granted if you don't have a lot. You know what I mean? Like, shoot, it was times all we had was ramen noodle. And I'm like, man, I don't want no ramen noodle. You know what I mean? And it's somebody that legit
would kill for that.
Would fight you for it.
100%, man. The worst thing I've ever seen personally with doing my job and stuff, I went into a house. I forgot. Actually, it may not have been too far away from Pearl Street, if I remember correctly. Anyways, the house is 100 years old. And I'm going over there for a rat issue. I knock on the door. Mom opens the door. 5 rats run away.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, whoa.
I ain't going to lie. I would have jumped.
I'm not a fan still, trust me, to this day. So I walk in. I'm like, all right, this is an issue. Definitely got to work hard on this one. And I do an inspection whenever I go and do the house. Check the inside, check the outside, look for holes, whatever's going on. And I remember that it's an old house, so it had the electrical outlets on the baseboard area, and it was pushed out. So I used my foot, and I was like, I'll just push it back in real quick. Keep on going. I push it back in, and you see a rat hand in the wall. Push it out.
Wow.
And I'm going around, and this story makes me sad every time I talk about it. This little girl walks up to me, couldn't be older than 6 years old. She showed me her feet. The rats chewed on her toes every single night, man.
Wow.
And I was like, that brought me, like I said, to almost tears. Like sitting there talking to her, I was like, damn, man. I was like, and it's not the mom doing anything wrong. They can't afford anything else. They can't go anywhere else.
Right.
And that whole situation happened. But that was one of there's moments in my life that make me sit and take a step back and be like, hey, you're going through stuff, but there's other people going through it, a lot harder. And that happened my first year working at this job. It's been 4 or 5 years, and I've told it to a bunch of people, man. It's just like, if anybody hears that story, just appreciate what you got.
100%. And I'm going to tell you, like I say, I got to see things like that early on, and it gives you perspective. It gives you moments of clarity to say, whew, it's not as bad as I thought.
Exactly.
I'm not at my lowest. I'm not at the lowest. You know what I mean? And that alone, should push you. I say this, I lived in North Carolina for about 5 years. I had never lived outside of Florida, and I wanted to take a chance. I wanted to move. So I was already making plans, and I started talking to someone, and they lived in North Carolina, but we met here in Jacksonville. And, one thing led to another. We got serious, and I was telling her I wanted to move to New York. She was like, me too. We're in this relationship. Let's, be together, move up, if you're interested, move up here, and then we can move to New York together. So I took the chance. I was like, let me figure things out. I'll come up and see what it's like. And if I like it, then I'll move, right? So I just started putting out applications just because.
Yeah. You just never know who'll bite.
I got a call like 2 days later on a Friday. They asked if I could be there Monday. I said, hey, if you're serious, you know, that gives me reason. I was working for myself, and I could travel and do what I was doing. I was selling life insurance. So I was like, yeah, I'll be there Monday. They were like, are you serious? Are you sure? And I was like, yeah. They were like, there's no rush. I was like, don't worry about it. If you can schedule it, just give me the time. Took a chance, went up, never came back. 5 years, right? So
what was the job up there?
I was doing maintenance for an apartment.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. So that's how I started. I ended up transitioning to leasing and then management in the apartment industry.
Nice, making your way up.
Yeah, I ended up leaving that. I went and managed the Speedway in North Carolina and whatnot. Then I got to the point and I was like, you know, hey, I want to kind of do this for myself, you know, and I left, you know, and came back. But during my time there, I got laid off, and this is how I made the transition to the gas station. But I got laid off from the apartments. My girlfriend's father ran a funeral home, and he was joking with me one day. He called me while I was out of work, and he was like, hey, how would you feel about, you know, picking up some dead bodies?
How much you paying?
I was like, yeah.
I was like, how much you paying? That's what I was saying.
What's it pay? Yeah. And I laughed about it, and he was like, hey, it's good, you know, and he laughed. I was like, all right, just let me know. So probably a couple of days later, he gave me the breakdown at the time, but a couple of days later, he called me. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Or no, it was like a week or two. And I ended up getting like 2 jobs. I worked for H&M, and then I was managing Macy's. Okay. So like I was running around in the mall and whatnot, but I had busy. Man, I'm always working. So I had just started at H&M. I had to be there at 7 a.m. I get a call to go and pick up a body at 2 a.m.
There's so many different things going on in one day. That's wild.
I go, and it is a 245-pound man, butt naked on the living room floor. And you talk about an experience, I'm like, oh my God. Like, he was covered in a sheet, respectfully.
And was this just you?
It was me and another guy.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, I was like, how you going to pick this man up?
Oh, shit. Even with 2 of us, I was thinking that. So, they pull back the sheet. He's butt ass naked, and this is you know, my first time encountering this. I'm like, oh. So I try not to react, not knowing. You know, it was a caregiver there, so he didn't care about the reaction. But we're all being respectful.
Of course, you know what I mean.
So, but again, like such a natural reaction. I didn't make it home until like 6:45. Had to run inside, shower, make it to work at 7 a.m. and start my first day. Right. Oh. As I'm doing all of this, I'm just like, man, thank God I get this opportunity to hustle and bustle for all of this.
Yeah.
At times we can forget that, you know what I mean? But that's the biggest thing that keeps me positive, you know what I mean? That keeps me mindful of circumstance, people around us, you know what I mean? You never know when it's your time. You never know when it's someone else's time. So you have to treasure moments. You have to appreciate every little thing. And it's heart-wrenching to hear situations like that, you know what I mean? And that's why with, you know, like I showed with the art critique, anything that I have, I try to make available. Because we don't know someone else's circumstance or what they're fighting to get basic needs.
No, I totally agree with you, man. And like one thing that bothers me as I've gotten older is how fast time seems to go by. I know I'm only 25, but 18 to now, snap of a finger, dude. Man. And it's like a year goes by. You know, like I was talking to my wife yesterday. Like, yeah, we've been married for like 3 months, right? She's like 6. I'm like, what? I'm like, damn, it's been half a year already? I'm like, and it just felt like yesterday, man. And the whole taking the moment just to like remember things. Like me with my boys, like we have the thing where we go golfing every weekend. And there's going to be a day where it's the last time. And you won't know it's the last time. Just like, when like your friends on the playground, you remember being a kid running around with your boys or your buddies, and then it just didn't happen anymore.
Yep.
And that's one of those things that I really have a hard time, and just try to take that moment and remember for the good things, because as you said, you don't know if it's their time. Like with me, what scares the hell out of me is losing a loved one, or like my wife, a good friend. And
indeed.
And it's just, enjoy the moments while you can, because they're fleeting, unfortunately. But it's also good that, each day you just take a moment just to see where you're at. Mentally it's hard, but at the end of the day, it's life. We only have the one, and I don't have the belief system of, I'm not a big religious guy personally. So that's why it scares me. It's like, I don't know what comes next.
Right.
And that's the thing, man. It's just, it's a wild world out there. But as you're saying, enjoy your moments, be helpful.
Indeed.
You never know when, even if it's not like something you're looking to get back, at least, don't expect it to come back.
Right. Mm-hmm. Because the person that you're giving to is not going to be the person that gives back. And 9 times out of 10, and it's not to say that people don't have those intentions. I mean it in the sense, the value of what you do for others, you won't receive it from that person in the way that you're expecting. If I give you $5, you might need that in the moment, right? And for you, it's monumental. When you give me back that $5, it's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it.
But down the road, there's going to be someone that gives me $100 when I need it. And they're not going to ask for it back. Mm-hmm. And that's the favor coming back tenfold. Mm-hmm. That's how I view things. You do kind just so that kind comes to you. And then ultimately, set a fucking example.
No, I totally agree with you, man. Whenever you told me at the event that's what that meant, I was like, I fucking like that.
Yeah,
I was like, that's a good one right there.
I was hesitant at first, even at times now, I can be a bit hesitant to talking about the meaning of safe. And it's not because I don't value it or I don't believe in it. Mm-hmm. It is such a bold message. Not everyone is able to receive it. Not everyone is understanding. Those who have you thought about, that's not my demographic. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So right now, as I'm in the process of building out the unveiling of this, I do have a big plan, not just for, and I think you can see it in how we're growing on social media, not just in numbers, but through our posts and through our promotion. But I do have a big vision, a big plan for how I plan to roll out our events, roll out the meaning and everything that we stand for, because again, we're focused on collaboration, innovation. We're not just for creators, we're for hobbyists, entrepreneurs. We host all kinds of events. One of the past events that we hosted that I'm most thankful for and most excited to host again was our grant writing class.
Oh,
and
really?
I have to shout out Katie Yellow. She reached out to me and we have been trying to find ways to work together on something. And she was like, hey, look, I want to host a class. This is what I have to offer. Do you think that it would be of value to the people around you? I said, this is, she knows how much, you know what I mean? She was asking respectfully, and it meant so much. Everything that she came to me for, everything. We partnered up. We gave away $1,000, for a vision to be executed. The vision is being executed now here in the space. Next month, we are going to have a full unveiling of almost everything going on at the Safehouse, from our tufting, 3D printing, our screen printing, to it's so much.
I know, man.
There's so much.
I've been talking to everybody about it, dude. And I have a couple friends who have Etsy shops and are doing their thing, and I was like the rug tufting. That's the thing I'm really interested in. I want to come in here and make a rug and check it out and stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Video. Yeah, man, definitely gonna come out. And like I said, the wifey wanted to come down. She was just at work. She's like, damn, man, I'm just like, this is your second time going. I need to come out. But I love the fact that you are doing all this to help collaborate with people, man. I feel like that's the biggest thing that a lot of people need nowadays, because Jacksonville isn't LA, not yet. But I feel like if you can start at the ground here and really get within the people who are doing it and wanting to help grow you, then themselves and everything. In 10, 20 years, man, you never know where everybody will be.
For sure.
I'm excited to see the growth of Jacksonville. Like I said, I hope to still be here. I'm definitely going to still be podcasting, man. You know, at the end of the day,
you still go be here, man. Come on.
Even if the numbers drop ever, man, like I said, I enjoy doing this, and this is like my therapy of getting to know people because it invigorates me to keep pushing. And as I hear people's like story of how they made it here and how they're doing their thing, man, it's super exciting. Like I said, I love what you guys are doing here.
I appreciate it, man. And I'm going to tell you, I can't see you losing because you got a great support system in those who you've had host, those who are watching now, those who are waiting to be on, and then even us here at the Safehouse. I mean, I plan to promote this, not just this interview, but everything that you've been doing. I think our vision aligns in a lot of ways and from different perspectives to where it keeps fresh avenues for everyone and we're able to engage the city in so many different ways. That's what it's all about, you know?
And I love the mix of people here. Like you're saying, like it's every color, every religion, anything, you know?
It's a safe space, man. Everyone is welcome here. We got one rule. Don't disrespect each other. You know, don't disrespect anyone. And don't come in here breaking stuff. You know?
Man. You put all that drywall up, that'd be hard.
I'll tell you what, man, I'd be upset. But outside of that, I mean, I want people to come in and feel comfortable. Even this setup it was created to make it feel more like a living room, more like that home aesthetic. So you can relax a little bit, even in the midst of working on we're building out our co-working space now, but working on projects or creating crafts. You have a moment to where you can debrief for a second and have a meeting or cut on the TV, things of that sort. I wanted it to be very comfortable. Everybody have something that sticks out to them.
Hell yeah, man. Like I said, it's an event space that you can do pretty much anything in. If you have a vision, you can put it in here. And like whenever I saw John's work in here, it was cool. I walked up to him. I was like, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, since the last time I saw you, man, I've been seeing you all
everywhere,
over the place, man.
And we're building.
And I love to see it, dude. It's so cool. Like he first came to Jacksonville. I saw him immediately. I was like, I want to talk to him. I wanted to meet him, get him going and everything. And we sat down and he's like, I haven't really talked to anybody yet. I'm like, dude, just wait. I was like, people are going to like your art. People are going to want to reach out. And he talked a little bit more after the podcast of ideas he's had. I'm like, dude, reach out to people.
I'm telling you.
They will love your ideas. And like you said, luckily he found you guys and, he's mixing up with other people as well. And it's just, I love the growth.
I think it's, support like what you're doing, what we're doing to push him, that gives him the confidence, the courage to do it, the motivation to do it, and he is running as fast and far as he can.
He is, man. But to get into a little bit more of your art, by the way, so the podcast, man.
Talk to me.
Like I said, it's wild. I was talking about some of the voicemails you guys get and all the other stuff, but like you guys have awesome guests on the podcast. And
thank you.
I was telling Amp when we were doing our interview, I was like, I didn't realize y'all were in Jacksonville for a minute.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because like I saw the numbers, I was like, are these guys in Jackson? Like,
I hear that a lot.
Yeah, but it's awesome to have all the different groups, the different kinds of people you guys have on. Your Patreon's definitely gotten interesting as well from what I've been seeing.
Man, the Patreon is popping. Needless to say.
So what made you want to hop on to the podcast game? You guys have been doing this for years now, and what I was telling Amp, like he was talking about how he started back on webcams like 2015 and everything. I'm like you had the vision. Because I didn't really start, I think it was 2022 is when I started, and I was like, damn, I wish I would have started during COVID, to be honest with you.
Really?
I was a part I missed. But what made podcasting interesting to you? What made you want to hop on and do it on there?
So believe it or not, when AMP started, I had just moved to North Carolina. I think I had maybe been up there a year. And he reached out to me. He was like, hey, man, I'm starting a podcast. This is what I'm about to do next. Because AMP has always been the funniest guy I know, the most entertaining, right? He used to run a blog spot that, man, it was huge. He has a hilarious story. We talk about it from time to time. I don't know if it's still up, but if you Google the day I almost got my shoulders clapped, it's the funniest story, and it's a story about when we were in high school. But I always used to tell him, man, you have to do something, whether it's continue to blog spot, run a website. I didn't think about podcasting. Amp was listening to podcasts, I want to say well before then. But I used to tell him, you got to do something, because man, you're hilarious and you got a far reach.
Yeah.
But I had moved up to North Carolina. He was like, hey, man, I'm starting this podcast. I was like, I bet I'm going to support you. He was like, all right, I'm going to have you on from time to time. I'm going to just call you, you know? And I was like, cool. It's funny because when he first started it, he would like text me and be like, yo, you down to record tonight? All right, cool. I scheduled the time.
Yeah.
Then when he knew I was like going to help with that, he was like, just call it. Hey, we're going to call Joe in the middle of the episode. I'd be laying in bed with my girl and I'd jump out and I'd be whispering. I'd be like, hey, man, yeah, y'all give me 1 second. And then I'm hearing him joke about it and whatnot, you know. It'd be funny. So I'll say this. I mean, never had I thought about being on a podcast, being a part of one. Even when he brought it to me, I was like, yo, I'm going to support you, man. I'm going to be your number one fan, bro. I'm going to root for you. And he was like, nah, man, I want you to be a part of this. And I was like, all right, cool. So that's, you know, he brought me in while I was in North Carolina and just made sure that I was always involved. People knew who I was. People, you know, got to hear stories from our past, stories from my past, things like that. And then I told him, you know, I was like, look, I was going through a rough time. You know, me and my girl had separated and I was like figuring out whether or not I wanted to stay. He was like, come back and let's do this together. We'll go crazy. Like we can do this. I think I ended up staying up there maybe like one more year, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna come back and I'll do it with you. It was him and our other best friend Devin. That's our third co-host. But when I came back on, man, like it was just great to be in the same room doing it now, right? And that's how I kind of like started to fall in love. But I used to tell Amp all the time, man, hey, take out this part, delete this, hey, man, can you blur my face? You know what I mean? Like I'd be going through extremities for nothing. Like, hey, man, I'm not comfortable. You know what I mean? And I wasn't for a long time. I did not like being, you know, on the podcast just like in the moment because I wasn't comfortable, right? But the love and support, not just that people were showing me as a new co-host, but seeing what Amp was getting, what he had built. It was like, how could I disrespect this? How could I not? You know what I mean? So I worked to get better. I started listening to podcasts, things like that. And then we had a 5-year anniversary and Amp told me on the ride down to Miami, we did it live at Art Basel. He was like, man, this is your episode. Like, I want you to go crazy, man. And I was like, say less, you know. I told some of the like funniest stories I had. We had the best experience, and man, like after he was like, man, that was your coming out party, you know. And it was amazing. It was just a great experience. So
podcasting's awesome, man. You know, and obviously to see how much you guys have grown, and you know, you guys have had a bunch of crazy guests on, to be honest with you. Like the one I brought up to Amp, I was like, you guys have Boot Gang on?
Yeah.
I saw him on. I was like, what the fuck is he doing on there? But like, you guys just have a wide range of people, which is cool. And even like we were talking about like the Engineer Boys, you know, Ben's 47, Benny Banks. I've had them on. Scared Money.
Shout out to all of them.
Yeah, man.
Yes. All of them, man, setting a fucking example, working hard. Yo, Ben's goes crazy with the videos. If anybody needs anything, Ben's 47 is your guy. And it's a lot of people out here in the city, but Ben's has a very unique look, and I love his aesthetic. You know, want to see him doing more with local artists and you know, more local artists. Of course, is what I mean. Shout out to Benny Banks. I see Scared Money everywhere I go at almost every market. And
I had it on my last video. I made sure I wore the hat. And I was like, I went and saw him at a 904 pop-up, and I had to get a hat, man. I was like, this thing's clean. Yeah. But no, it's awesome that you guys are also promoting local Jacksonville as well, because you guys, like I said, it's a mix of everything, and 100%. That's the thing that I think that keeps it real interesting. And like I said, I love y'all's clips. Anytime I see your clips and I was like, it says like something wild, or like we were talking about the voicemails, man. Right. That voicemail where the dude was talking about want to get with his cousin, or ever want to get with his cousin.
I was so thankful I was not on that episode.
I almost fell out of my work truck. I was cracking up. So I was just like, who calls in, bro, and says this?
This is what's on my mind. I'm like, oh my God. When I listened to the episode, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I couldn't believe it. And man, the podcast has been amazing. Really quick, I gotta do a shameless plug.
Go ahead.
tap into everything that we're doing with Random Acts of Podcast. Sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/RAO Podcast. I'm saying this because with that, we also have our Discord. Our demographic isn't necessarily Jacksonville. It's so wide that it helps when it helps, locals to get a broader reach, get a wider experience. We got a friend named Kels who's a rapper, and, he comes on from time to time. We got like a lifelong vendetta. So people love our dynamic, and when they see it, they support him and almost everything that he does. You know what I mean? So it's just amazing to be able to give back opportunities to local people to expand their reach. And then we choose people that we think resonate with us really well and our dynamic. And they come on and do a great job of entertaining, you know what I mean?
The stuff I've seen has been awesome.
We get some crazy laughs. So
I asked Amp the same question. If there's anybody you could get in the world, doesn't matter how big, how small, who is your dream guest? He said Martin Lawrence, which I thought was a solid choice. I think that would be a good one, but what would it be for you?
For me, it would be Joe Freshgoods. Joe Freshgoods has been one of the biggest inspirations for the Safehouse, cultivating what the Safehouse is, what he did, and it's not just him. RAO, Des Money, what they did with Fat Tiger Works out of Chicago is phenomenal to me. Today, Joe Freshgoods works a lot with New Balance.
Okay.
He's done work with Adidas, if I'm not mistaken, Nike. I mean, he's 5950. He's done countless things, but huge inspiration. I love to be able to sit down and talk with him, hear more about his journey, his creative thinking. I love how he focused on community, and really his brand is like all about Chicago, and that's what I envision with the Safehouse and what you're doing with Who Are You. And I think that it's amazing to put on for the local city. But while we're on this, I meant to bring it up earlier while we were talking about people not appreciating the city more or less. Or there's a book called Acres of Diamonds, if I'm not mistaken, that's the title. But I read that many years back, and it was before I left to North Carolina. And it gave me so much perspective while I was in North Carolina, even though I had probably more opportunity in North Carolina than I had here during that time. Acres of Diamond talks about how people leave to go search for, their wealth.
Yeah, of course.
And oftentimes it's right in your garden. It starts off with a parable about how a guy was traveling, the author was traveling, and his travel guide was telling him a story about a man that basically traveled across the world or whatever the travel guide was calling people ignorant and stupid because they're searching for this, but it's so easily found if you just dig deeper, right?
Gotcha.
That was the premise of his story. But the gentleman recalled a story of a guy selling his ranch where he had dug for gold and couldn't strike. He ended up moving across country, I want to say to like Arizona or California or something, and like bought land on a promise that gold will strike. They bled it dry before he got there or whatever. And the guy he sold it to, I want to say, it's been over 10, 15 years since I've read the book now. But I want to say that the guy he sold it to struck like within the first 2 years and was rich, like generational wealth. Generational wealth. Overflowing with gold and diamonds or whatever. But it oftentimes makes me think, and this is what made me come back to Jacksonville. I told someone at the time that I was dating that when I left, all my resources are here. I have, so much opportunity through years of just having met the right people and not having the right pitch, not having the right direction. When I moved back, I didn't know what I was going to do. When I started the rugs, I didn't know I was going to open a store. I had completely gotten away from that vision for many years just because it wasn't something tangible, you know? It wasn't until realistically last year the idea of the Safehouse came together. Mm-hmm. As far as what we see today, there were pieces of everything that were always present, everything that the Safehouse has going as far as the rug tufting, the 3D printing, the screen printing. These were all items that I had in my personal possession, that I had in my house, and I brought them here. I bought more so to make it more accessible. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So
you created your vision that you've always kind of had. It just didn't know when it could, like you said, strike gold. That's what you just brought up in that book.
Indeed. And I used to always tell people that's how I viewed everything that I had. I didn't screen print for 10 years. I did not touch it for 10 years. And I never sold any of my stuff. And I always said, I'm keeping it because this is literally gold. As soon as I get back to it, the money will be abundant.
I agree with you, man. A lot of times it just takes that initial push. Start the project again, you know.
Yep, stay consistent.
Well, even as you get older, man, you get, like you were saying, different perspectives. Mm-hmm. You can come back with fresh eyes and be like, maybe this is why I didn't do it or why it didn't work. Let me try this now and add a new piece into it. And from what you just got from that, or I get from your story you just told about that book, grass is not always greener on the other side.
Oh my God.
There's always, if you just keep pushing, you know, you got to be a little delusional. That's the way I look at things. I'm like, just go for it, man.
Delusional is definitely the word. Oh man, because even today, I still dream big. I dream bigger than the Safehouse today. I mean, already we've had countless opportunities. I've had a few opportunities to possibly expand. Ooh. And we're still cultivating what we have here. So I think it's very important that we go slow. But to see what we're doing today, I would have never guessed it, you know, never thought it possible that within 2 months of being open, you know, those kind of opportunities would be presenting themselves. We didn't have to go out and search for it. Everything we've done here is out of pocket. I would have never guessed that we would have been able, you know, and there are tough times because of that especially, but it's like we're blessed to even have been able to get this far.
Hey, man, it's one step at a time. Every day you wake up, it's a new opportunity for you to do something new.
Indeed.
And every time, man, I'm on Instagram, dude, I see a new event's coming, a new person's going to come in here, whether it's an artist or a musician or, you know, even, did I see an open mic too?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, man,
yes,
like, that's what I'm saying. There's like all kinds of stuff.
As soon as we finish this, I'm posting a video about our vendor market. I believe it might pass before this episode comes out, but we got a vendor market this weekend followed by a gallery. So every day this week I've been working on both of those, trying to juggle the task with that. Setting up these different events. I'm so thankful that we finally been able to announce a full month's worth of events. Prior to this, I've been wrecking my brain 2 days before events. How can I get a flyer up? Okay, I got to sit down and design this, and you know what I mean? So finally, I'm able to manage my time a little better. I'm scheduling out my flyer. Like I'm doing a little bit of everything, and it's all I'm learning as I go. And what I'm trying to do for others with the Safehouse, I am the example of the experience. Mm-hmm. I never designed a flyer before. I never hosted my own events outside of rap shows. Of course, know what I mean? Yeah. Like performance shows. Never hosted an event. And to see what we're able to accomplish, you know, with the help of friends, with people supporting and offering all kinds. When we did the art critique, someone gave me 2 free easels so that we could help to hoist more work.
That's clutch.
I couldn't believe it.
Where do you get an easel from randomly?
Oh my God.
I don't know where to grab one.
An hour before the event, you know? So I just, again, I owe all my thanks to everyone else, you know what I mean? I couldn't be more thankful. But again, I say it to say, I'm learning every day through this journey. I try and be better every day. Like I say, I'm posting after we finish this. So it's always working. It's nonstop. You always hear people say, man, I want to work for myself so I can create my own schedule. I do not create my own schedule.
Nope.
I live on everyone else's schedule. Someone says, hey, can you meet this time? And it's like, wow, I don't have this time, but if I don't make it now, this opportunity might not exist, you know?
That's how I am, dude. Like, whenever I've had people reaching out for the podcast recently, and these, like, last month, I booked out 2 months straight.
Indeed.
And I'm the same way of, like, I don't want to lose the opportunity. You know, I work my 9 to 5, I get off at 5 or 4 or 5, and then I go straight to either podcasting, networking, reaching out to people, you know, or coming out to events, just trying to get involved in the community. And as people said, it's like the grind of working for yourself. You know,
24/7.
People think podcasting or what you're doing is like, you know, being behind the phone and stuff. It's like, no, man, everybody who emails me, messages me, or like all those posts that you see online, that's me.
Indeed. You know? Yes. If anyone understands, there are people that are legitimately mad at me because, you know, I don't respond, or I might not respond in a timely fashion to things that are, you know, not as important at the moment. And it's not to be rude. It's, you know, I'm legitimately busy.
Prioritizing your time. You have to, man.
Right. My phone is blowing up now, and it's like, you know, with all due respect to you, I have to ignore it. You know what I mean? So, and to everyone, you know, it's all due respect to them. But, it's tough to manage everything all at once. You know what I mean? I've heard someone tell me that, oh, you have your phone in your hand all day. Why couldn't you just, well, I might, but I'm also responding to 10 other people consistently. I'm doing a flyer and trying to pay bills and doing all of this off my phone at the same time. See, my laptop broke, so now I'm constricted to just my phone.
Yeah.
Trying to manage everything off of this, though it's a blessing, you know, that it's
a blessing and a curse, dude. There's some days where I'll look, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't respond to that email. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, but a lot of times people are receptive to it. Be like, hey, like, it got lost in the mix. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like Instagram messages. I'm sure.
And I'm very thankful. Yes.
I know you have a line.
Oh my God.
And it's the same with me. I'll look and I'm like, oh shit, there's a couple here I did not respond to. But at the end of the day,
we're doing our best.
We're doing our best, and that's all you can do every single day and get better one day at a time.
Indeed. And that's what I try and tell people. You'll never be perfect, you know?
No. But like I said, man, this has been an awesome conversation.
I can't be more thankful.
And I appreciate it. And this isn't the only time, man. Like I said, I would love to have everybody come back on and say, you guys love to have the whole group come on one day, and we all can cut it up on the pod.
Actually, for the next art critique, we might have to have you come out and if you don't mind, if you're open to it, do some interviews with some of the artists.
I'm down, man. I'll set up a table. We can do 5-10 minute interviews in between, and I'm always down, man. I have another opportunity like that. Have you heard of Bespoke House?
Yes, sir.
They actually just reached out to me the other day to do one on 420. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, man. But I'm all about it, man. I just want to come out and be a part of the community and shake hands and make friends, man.
That's it.
But I do have one final question for you. I ask everybody who's new on the podcast for their first time the same question, and it is, do you feel successful? And if you do, or if you do or do not, in what ways?
For a long time, I did not. I did not because, you know, it's still a constant grind. I'm not able to walk away from this. I always heard growing up, two different perspectives. I keep my grandfather in the back of my head. My grandfather always told me, if you made your money back, you broke even, you were successful. That's very important to me because I'll be honest to say, just making rent right now has been about all I've been able to do. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't make any money from this, you know, so that's tough. You know what I mean? But in that regard, I'm very successful. Though it might be stressful, I'm very successful because I get another day to do it. Every time that I pay the rent, I tell myself, I had 30 more days and we're going to make the most of it. And every month we've gotten better. This month, you know, we're at the start of this month, and I couldn't be more excited about where the direction is headed. Then I heard that, you know, if you can't walk away from your business and it still function, you're not successful. That meant a lot to me.
Mm-hmm. I can definitely understand your point of view on that.
Because right now, today, in that regard, I'm nowhere near success, you know? And that's what keeps me driving. It's also the thought that through this, I can create opportunities for someone else to have success in their own field, in their own ways, in their own idealization, you know? So, when I'm not in a depression, and I just say that jokingly in the sense, you know, some days are tough. Some days are tough. And I think you have those moments to where imposter syndrome really sets in. And like I talked about early, when I was building this space out, because I was in here so much by myself, that's what it felt like. I'm doing all of this work. I'm spending all of this time. I'm making so many sacrifices. What if it fails? What if no one comes out? What if it's all for nothing? And every day I've had to think of that. You know, the jobs that I left, every job that I left, I've been working for myself now for the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. Every job I left prior to that, I was in management position. I was making no less than $50,000. I did well when in the workforce.
Yeah.
This is it's been a major transition, a huge, you know, up and down. My first 2 years, I was making money. I made over $40,000 my first year making rugs. And then, you know, like just before last year, I had all of my biggest losses. And so now as I'm working to get back to this level of self-success, you know, to where you feel like, man, I'm doing good for myself. There are days to where, no, I don't feel successful, you know, and that's the back and forth. But I'm very thankful to say right now, I don't know how I could be more successful.
I think that's a perfect way to end it, man. Like I said, it's solid. There's a lot of things that people have a thought of what success is. Mm-hmm. And everybody's thinking at the top of the mountain. But right. As you're saying, it's that grind. You know, you're just saying next 30 days. I got another 30 days to keep going. I got another 30 days to figure out how I'm going to make this work. And I feel like if you just keep putting one step ahead of each other, mm-hmm. It's going to grow. And I've seen the growth, man. So I'm excited as hell to see you guys keep growing. I'm excited to see the podcast keep doing its thing, the Safehouse keep doing its thing, and obviously I'll be at more events.
For sure, come on.
Definitely be coming out. But thank you again for taking the time out of your very busy schedule, as we were just talking about, to give me an hour of your time, man, and sit down. You. And thank you for letting me use your studio today as well, man. This is badass.
I can't thank you enough for coming out. I can't thank you enough for having me on. Like I say, the pleasure was mine. I'm, that much more excited. I've been talking about this nonstop. I was looking forward to it. Amp and I, we don't get many opportunities to do other podcasts. You know, not everyone reaches out to have us on.
Isn't that wild? Yeah. I've only been on one other one as well. That's it.
So it's always nice to be appreciated by someone else in the industry. You know what I mean? And man, let me give you your flowers, because again, it's an honor to be on, because what you're doing is amazing. Not just for someone like myself, but for everyone in the city that you've opened the door to.
I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I'm just trying to help out people who I can and be a part of my community and help my community grow and get to a better spot. So I appreciate it, man.
For sure.
As I say, it's going to be an awesome time, man. But please let everybody know where they can find your social media. And obviously, you're coming out in 2 weeks. So if you know what your events are, so not next Monday, but the Monday after.
Okay.
If you know your events, man, let everybody know, because they will be put out next Monday, or the Monday after next.
Okay. So, not next Monday, the Monday after next, we have, I know we have the Ryan Garcia 420 event going on. Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to have a fight party up here. You know, if you smoke a little bud, it's a celebration. Come on out. I'm definitely going to let everybody, enjoy the space, unencumbered. Feel free to come in, smoke. We'll have some drinks available. We don't smoke at all of our events just because we want to be respectful to everyone. We do have 5,000 square feet outside, though. So, you can step out back and smoke, come back in and enjoy the inside at our Cut a Rug and everything like that. Friday nights, we do host our Cut a Rug event. So come on out and check us out. If you can boogie, this is the place to be. Now, on social media, you can follow us everywhere at the Safehouse Jacks. We can't be more thankful. But when you do go to our social media page, don't just follow us. Tap in with all the artists. Tap in with the safety team, everybody that's helping me out here, everybody that's a part of the team, and all that they're doing, man. Like I say, all thanks to everybody else, everybody that's watching, everybody that comes out and supports and hosts events, brings events, things of that sort. So yeah, tap in with everybody in the city.
Everybody, make sure you guys go give this man a follow on everything. Go follow the podcast as well.
Indeed.
So,
Random Acts of Podcast. My apologies.
You're good, man.
Got
to bring
RAO
it up.
Podcast everywhere. Hey, look, we get a little ignorant on there, but it's great entertainment. I mean, it gives us an opportunity just to cut back, break the monotony with things. We have a good time. It's all jokes, you know what I mean? But tap in. You'll definitely love what we're doing over there as well. Tap into the Patreon, patreon.com/RAO Podcast. And then once you've signed up for our Patreon, join our Discord. We see countless connections being made across the states every day. We have been able to generate a huge support for not just fellow podcasters, creators, things like that, by having them on our podcast and in our Discord. And like I say, I take that same energy, apply it to the Safehouse. You know what I mean? So we have successful structures on both sides. If y'all love what we're doing here at the Safehouse, tap into the podcast. If you love what we're doing on the podcast, tap into the Safehouse.
Yes, sir. So make sure you guys go check out all their links. Everything will be put in the description, so you guys can go straight down and go straight to any of their pages and all that stuff. Also, if you guys go, say if you come out to a Safehouse event or you guys are checking out their podcast and everything, comment to say who are you sent you. I love to see when people who are listening to the podcast go out and support the people we have on our podcast here. It's all about supporting local Jacksonville and everybody outside of it as well. So make sure you guys go give them a follow. But before we get out of here, if you guys want to follow our podcast page, it's going to be Who Are You Pod on everything from YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all the normal spots. We're post pretty much a video a day from all of our conversations, so there's never a limit on really all the content we're putting out. And we're going to start putting out some other things on the YouTube as well. Me and the wifey got some things planned, some me and her videos, and also might get back on the golf course a little bit. You guys can see how terribly I swing. But make sure you guys go give everybody a follow. And as I say every single week, I appreciate you guys for checking out the podcast, and we will see y'all next week.